Sometimes it takes a stranger's whisper to show us the true strength we've been carrying all along. Isabella Hartman had everything people dreamed of. She lived in a mansion with glass walls that overlooked the city's skyline. Expensive cars sat in her driveway, and her name was known in every business circle. She was a billionaire, a woman who had built her real estate empire from the ground up. People admired her confidence and the way she carried herself, always dressed perfectly, always in control. But behind the perfect image, Isabella's life was far from happy. Her husband, Daniel, had died in a car accident 2 years earlier. Since then, the house that once echoed with laughter now felt cold and empty. Her only light in life was her 9-year-old daughter, Lily. Lily had been born with cerebral palsy, and though she couldn't move as easily as other kids, her smile could brighten any room. She loved music, painting, and watching cartoons. She saw beauty in everything. But Isabella, always busy and under pressure, often failed to notice the small joys her daughter lived for, most of the time. Isabella's world was about meetings, investors, and deadlines. She had assistants, nannies, and drivers who handled everything. Lily was cared for by professionals, therapists, tutors, and nurses. But what she really wanted was time with her mom. Isabella loved Lily deeply, but she didn't know how to show it anymore. Whenever she looked at her daughter's wheelchair, a mix of pain and guilt filled her heart. She blamed herself for not being enough, for not being able to give Lily a normal life. One rainy afternoon, Isabella had to take Lily to the hospital for a routine checkup. The appointment took longer than expected, and both were tired when they left. Lily asked softly, "Mom, can we eat somewhere before we go home?" Isabella hesitated. Normally, she would have food delivered to the car or go to one of her favorite luxury restaurants. But traffic was bad, and Lily looked hungry. They drove past a small diner on a quiet strata, a place Isabella would never normally go. The neon sign outside flickered, and the parking lot had more puddles than cars. It didn't look like a place for a billionaire, but Lily smiled at the sight. "Can we eat there?" she asked. Isabella almost said no, but something in her daughter's voice made her nod. "All right, just for a little while," she said. Inside, the diner smelled of coffee and pancakes. It was warm and noisy with chatter, and old songs played from a jukebox. The place was simple, but welcoming. Isabella felt out of place in her designer coat. But Lily looked excited as they found a corner table. A waitress came over with a bright smile. She looked to be in her late 20s, with kind eyes and messy hair tied in a ponytail. "Her Namatag," said Emma. "Good afternoon." "What can I get for you too?" she asked warmly. Isabella gave a polite smile and ordered a salad without looking up from her phone. Lily asked for pancakes with extra syrup, and Emma winked at her. "Excellent choice, sweetheart. I'll make sure they're extra fluffy." As Emma walked away, Lily couldn't stop smiling. Isabella didn't understand why. She kept scrolling through her emails, answering messages from her office. But she noticed Lily watching the waitress every time she passed by. When Emma returned with their food, she knelt beside Lily's chair and carefully placed the plate in front of her. "Here you go, honey," she said. "The chef made these with love." Lily giggled, and Emma laughed too. Isabella, trying to stay polite, said thank you. As they ate, Isabella could hear bits of their conversation. Emma asked Lily what her favorite color was, what music she liked, and if she liked to draw. Lily talked more than she had all week. Her voice was full of excitement. Isabella felt a strange mixture of pride and jealousy. Why was her daughter opening up so easily to a stranger? After a few minutes, Isabella heard Emma lower her voice. She leaned close to Lily's ear and whispered something. Lily froze for a second, then her face lit up with a big, pure smile. Her eyes sparkled like sunlight on water. Isabella looked up, confused. "What did you say to her?" she asked sharply. Emma blinked and smiled kindly. "Oh, just a little secret between us girls," she said lightly. Isabella didn't like that answer. She didn't trust people easily, especially around Lily. But before she could say anything else, Lily laughed softly and said, "Mom, can we come here again?" Isabella frowned. "We'll see," she replied, trying to sound calm. She paid the bill, leaving a generous tip. hurried Lily to the car. On the way home, Lily kept talking about Emma, the way she smiled, the way she listened, how she made her feel happy. Isabella smiled politely but didn't say much. Inside, though, she felt uneasy. It wasn't that she didn't like Emma. It was that she didn't understand how someone could make her daughter so happy in such a short time, when she herself struggled to do the same every day that night. After Lily fell asleep, Isabella walked into her daughter's room to turn off the lamp. She saw Lily's drawing notebook open on the bed. On the page was a colorful sketch, a woman in an apron holding Lily's hand. Above the drawing were shaky words written in a child's handwriting, "You're stronger than you think."
Nice.
Isabella stared at the words for a long time. Her throat tightened. She sat on the edge of the bed and gently brushed Lily's hair away from her face. What did Emma mean by those words? Why had she whispered them? The next morning, Isabella couldn't stop thinking about it. She asked Lily what Emma had said, but Lily just smiled mysteriously and said, "It's a secret." Isabella tried to laugh it off, but it bothered her. Those words, "You're stronger than you think," echoed in her mind. At work. During a meeting, Isabella found herself distracted. The faces of her business partners blurred as she thought about the waitress. Emma had looked so genuine, so alive, even though she worked in a small diner. Isabella couldn't remember the last time she had seen that kind of warmth in someone's eyes. That evening, Isabella and Lily had dinner at home. The food was perfect, the table was beautiful, but the room felt silent. Lily ate quietly, her mind somewhere else. Finally, Isabella asked, "Do you really want to go back to that diner?" Lily nodded immediately. "Yes, Mom. Emma makes me feel brave." Isabella didn't know how to respond. She had spent so much money on the best doctors and teachers for Lily, but it was a stranger in a diner who made her daughter feel brave. That thought stayed with her all night. Before going to bed, Isabella stood by her window looking at the city lights below. For years she had thought power came from success, from money and control. But now, for the first time, she felt small, like maybe she had missed something important about life. She didn't know it yet. But that small moment in the diner, that single whisper from a kind waitress, had already begun to change everything. The next weekend, Isabella tried to keep herself busy with work, but she couldn't stop thinking about the diner and that strange whisper. Her company was preparing to launch a new project, and her office was full of noise phones ringing, people talking, papers rustling, but in her mind, she kept seeing her daughter's smiling face from that afternoon. Lily had looked truly happy for the first time in months, maybe even years. And it wasn't because of a new toy, a fancy vacation, or a doctor's encouragement. It was because of a few quiet words from a waitress she barely knew. By Sunday, Lily asked again, "Mom, can we go back to the diner? Please, I want to see Emma." Isabella looked up from her laptop. "Lily, that place isn't really our kind of restaurant," she said gently. But Lily's hopeful eyes made her pause. "Please, Mom. She said she'd show me how to make pancakes next time." Isabella sighed. She had planned a lunch meeting, but something in her heart told her to cancel it. "All right," she said finally. "We'll go." When they arrived, the diner looked the same, simple, cozy, and alive with chatter. The moment they stepped in, Emma spotted them and waved excitedly. "Lily, you came back," she said, rushing over. Lily giggled as Emma crouched down and gave her a gentle hug. Isabella watched quietly, her face calm but her mind racing. She had met hundreds of people in her business life, executives, investors, celebrities, but this woman's warmth was different. It wasn't fake or forced. It was real. They sat at the same corner table, and Emma brought over 2 glasses of water and a small vase with a fresh flower. "I saved your favorite spot," she said to Lily. "I thought maybe you'd come back."
Ow.
Lily smiled wide. "I told you we would." Isabella sat back and crossed her arms, pretending to scroll through her phone, but her eyes kept drifting to them. She watched as Emma helped Lily pour syrup over her pancakes and told her little jokes that made her laugh. So hard her shoulders shook. There was something magical about the way Emma spoke to her daughter, as if she saw her as just another child, not someone to be pitied. Isabella admired that but didn't fully understand it. Halfway through the meal, Isabella saw Emma lean close again. She said something softly, and Lily's expression changed. Her eyes widened, her lips trembled, and then she smiled through tiny tears. It was the same reaction as last time. Isabella froze. What could she possibly be saying? When Emma stood up and walked toward another table, Isabella leaned closer to Lily. What did she tell you? She asked quietly. Lily wiped her eyes and shook her head. It's our secret, Mom. Isabella frowned. Sweetheart, you can tell me. I just want to know. Lily giggled and said, It's between girls. Then she continued eating, as if nothing had happened. Isabella felt a strange mix of emotions. Part of her was touched clearly. Her daughter trusted this woman. But another part of her was irritated. She didn't like not knowing what a stranger was whispering to her child, especially when it made Lily so emotional. When Emma came back to refill their drinks, Isabella spoke firmly. What exactly are you whispering to my daughter? She asked. Emma blinked, looking a little surprised but not afraid. Oh, nothing bad, ma'am, she said kindly. Just a few words of encouragement. She's such a brave girl. Isabella looked into her eyes, searching for any sign of dishonesty. She found none. There was only kindness there. Still, Isabella wasn't satisfied. You shouldn't get too personal with customers, she said coolly, especially with children. Emma nodded respectfully. You're right. I just wanted to make her smile. She reminded me of someone I used to know. The conversation ended there, but the air felt heavy afterward. Lily didn't notice and kept chatting happily, but Isabella felt uneasy. She told herself she was overreacting. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper had happened between her daughter and the waitress, something that she wasn't part of. After lunch, they prepared to leave. Emma walked them to the door and waved goodbye. Come back soon, okay, Lily, she said. I have more stories for you. Lily laughed and nodded. Isabella forced a polite smile and thanked her, but her tone was distant. She couldn't decide if she liked or disliked this woman. That night, Lily was full of energy. She played her favorite songs, drew pictures, and talked non-stop about Emma. She said she used to work with kids like me. Mom, Lily said as she colored. She said I'm strong inside, even if my legs are weak. Isabella felt a sting in her heart. She said that. She asked quietly. Hung, Lily replied, without looking up. And she said it's okay to be different. Isabella sat back in her chair, silent. She thought about all the times she had tried to make Lily feel normal. She had spent so much money on treatments, tutors, and therapies to make her fit into the world. But maybe what Lily needed wasn't to fit in. Maybe she just needed someone to see her exactly as she was. Later that night, Isabella couldn't sleep. The rain tapped gently against her window as she stared at the ceiling. She thought about the whisper again, about the way Lily's eyes had filled with light. She realized that in all her wealth and power, she had never given her daughter that kind of hope. She gave her comfort, safety, and luxury, but not warmth. Not like Emma did with just a few soft words. The next morning, Isabella drove Lily to school. As she helped her out of the car, Lily looked up and said, Mom, Emma said people who help others are the happiest. Isabella smiled faintly. Did she? Lily nodded. She said even small things matter. That sentence stayed with Isabella all day. Even during her meetings, her mind wandered back to it. Even small things matter. She had always measured life by success and money. But now she wondered what if she'd been measuring the wrong things all along? That evening, as she sat in her office overlooking the city, she took out Lily's drawing from the night before. It was another picture of Emma, but this time Emma was whispering into Lily's ear. And above them was written, You can do anything, even if it takes longer. Isabella traced the words with her finger. Something about them broke her heart a little. She realized she didn't even know this woman's full name, but she had managed to reach her daughter's heart in a way Isabella never could. By the end of the week, Isabella couldn't resist anymore. She decided to go back to the diner by herself, without Lily. She told herself it was to make sure everything was fine, but deep down, she wanted answers. She needed to know who Emma really was, and why her simple words had such an effect on Lily. When she walked into the diner that Friday afternoon, The smell of coffee and fried food hit her again. Emma was behind the counter, wiping glasses and chatting with an elderly couple. She looked up and smiled politely. "Oh, hi. You're Lily's mom, right?" she said. Isabella nodded. "Yes. I wanted to talk to you." Emma looked surprised but nodded. "Sure thing. Let me finish up here." As Isabella waited, she noticed something she hadn't before: the way Emma greeted every customer by name. The way she smiled even when she looked tired. The way she made everyone feel seen. It was something money couldn't buy. When Emma finally sat across from her, Isabella looked her straight in the eye. "You've been very kind to my daughter," she said carefully. "But I need to understand something. What exactly did you whisper to her that made her so emotional?" Emma hesitated, her eyes soft. For a moment, Isabella thought she wouldn't answer. Then Emma smiled sadly and said, "She asked me if she'd ever get better. I told her she already is. She's just learning her own kind of strong." Isabella's breath caught. There was no manipulation in Emma's voice, only truth. The simplicity of it hit her harder than she expected. She realized that those few words had done what all her money and efforts couldn't do. It gave her daughter courage. As she left the diner, Isabella felt something shift inside her. The whisper that had once annoyed her now felt like a gift. A small act of kindness had planted a seed that was quietly changing her life, and she didn't even see it coming. Isabella couldn't stop thinking about what Emma had said. She's just learning her own kind of strong. Those words kept echoing in her mind like a soft melody she couldn't forget. That one sentence had completely changed how she saw her daughter and even herself. For years, Isabella had focused on making everything perfect for Lily. She had spent millions on therapy, tutors, and doctors. She had built a world that was safe and controlled, but not warm. Now, she was starting to wonder if she had been missing something very important all along. The next day, Isabella drove to her office as usual, but her thoughts weren't on her projects or meetings. She kept replaying the diner scene in her hedema, kneeling down beside Lily, speaking gently, her eyes full of kindness. Isabella wanted to understand this woman more. Who was she? Why did she seem to know exactly what to say? She decided she would go back to the diner again, but this time, not as a customer. She wanted to really talk to Emma. 2 days later, she did just that. She arrived at the diner around lunchtime, when the crowd was light. Emma was wiping down tables, humming quietly to herself. When she saw Isabella, she smiled with genuine warmth. "Oh, hello again. Where's Lily today?" she asked. Isabella smiled faintly. "At home with her nurse. I wanted to come alone today." Emma nodded. "Sure thing. Can I get you the usual salad?" Isabella shook her head. "No, actually, I wanted to talk to you. Do you have a few minutes?" Emma looked a little surprised but said, "Of course. Let me just tell my manager." She sat across from Isabella with a curious look. "I know this might sound strange," Isabella began, her voice softer than usual, "but I wanted to thank you. For what you said to my daughter, it meant more to her than you can imagine." Emma's eyes softened. "She's a special girl," she said. "You can tell she's full of light." Isabella nodded slowly. "You said you used to work with children like her?" Emma smiled. "Yes, I did. I used to volunteer at a children's hospital before I worked here. My mom was sick back then, and I spent a lot of time there. I met kids with all kinds of challenges, some who couldn't walk, some who couldn't talk, but they all had so much courage. They taught me that strength isn't about what your body can do. It's about what your heart can handle." As Bella listened quietly. She wasn't used to people talking to her like this, so open, so honest. In her world, conversations were full of strategy and power games. But Emma's words were pure and simple. Emma continued, "When I saw Lily that day, I don't know, something about her reminded me of one little girl I met years ago. She used to say she felt broken because she couldn't run like other kids. I told her she wasn't broken. She was just built differently, like a rare flower that blooms in its own time. So when Lily asked me if she'd ever get better, I told her she already is. She just needs to see her own strength." Isabella's throat tightened. No one had ever talked to her daughter like that, not the therapists, not the teachers, not even her. Everyone always treated Lily like she needed fixing, but Emma saw her as whole. That realization hit Isabella hard. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. The sounds of the diner filled the silence, the clinking of plates, soft laughter, and the sizzling of food from the kitchen. Then Isabella asked quietly, "Do you have children, Emma?" Emma hesitated, her smile fading slightly. "Yes," she said softly. "A little boy. His name's Noah. He's 7. She looked down for a moment, fiddling with the napkin in her hand. "He's been sick for a while. We're managing, but it's been tough. I work double shifts to keep up with his treatments." Isabella felt her chest tighten again. "I'm so sorry," she said gently. "That must be hard." Emma nodded, but her smile returned. "It's okay. He's my reason to keep going. He's strong, just like your Lily." For a long moment, Isabella just looked at her. Here was a woman who had almost nothing compared to her working in a small diner. Struggling to make ends meet, but she was full of grace and hope. She had a sick child too, yet she spoke with joy, not bitterness. Isabella suddenly felt small. All her money, all her success, none of it had given her that kind of peace. When she left the diner that day, Isabella sat in her car for a long time. She looked at her reflection in the mirror, perfect hair, perfect clothes, but she didn't like what she saw. She realized that somewhere along the way, she had forgotten how to truly live. She had been surviving, managing, pretending. But Emma, someone who had so little, was truly living with love, courage, and faith. That evening, when Isabella came home, Lily rushed to her with a big smile. "Mom, guess what? I took 3 steps by myself with my walker today," she said excitedly. Isabella gasped. "You did?" Lily nodded proudly. "My therapist said I did amazing." And I remembered what Emma said. She told me I'm learning my own kind of strong. I kept saying that in my head. Isabella hugged her daughter tightly, tears stinging her eyes. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel the need to fix anything. She just wanted to hold her daughter and feel the moment. Later that night, after putting Lily to bed, Isabella opened her laptop. She couldn't stop thinking about Emma's son, Noah. She wanted to help but didn't want to embarrass Emma or make her feel pitied. She searched for children's hospitals nearby and wondered if she could make a donation quietly, something that would help families like Emma's. For years, she had given money to charities as part of her business image, but this felt different. This time, she wanted to help because her heart wanted to, not for publicity, not for praise. Over the next few days, Isabella found herself visiting the diner more often. Sometimes she brought Lily, sometimes she went alone. Emma and Lily grew closer each time. They shared stories and laughed together, and Isabella began to see how much her daughter was changing. Lily was becoming more confident, more expressive. She smiled more and talked about things she wanted to try, like painting with her feet or baking cupcakes. Isabella felt amazed and grateful. She also noticed things about Emma she hadn't before. The way her hands trembled slightly when she counted change, probably from exhaustion. The way she sometimes winced when standing too long. And yet she never complained. She always smiled, always found something positive to say. One afternoon, Isabella watched Emma wipe a spill from a customer's table and then hand a small toy car to a crying child to make him laugh. It was such a simple act, but it touched Isabella deeply. That night, Isabella sat in her garden with a cup of tea, thinking about everything that had happened. She realized how strange life could be. A random stop at a small diner, something she almost didn't do, had brought her face to face with someone who was changing her life completely. She thought about Emma's whisper again and finally understood its meaning. It wasn't just for Lily, it was for her too. "You're stronger than you think." Those words weren't only about physical strength. They were about heart, about kindness, about courage. Isabella had spent her whole life being powerful, but not truly strong. Now, thanks to a kind waitress and a simple whisper, she was learning what real strength meant. Before going to bed, she checked on Lily one more time. Her daughter was asleep, holding her stuffed bear close. On the nightstand beside her bed was another drawing, This one showed three people: Lily in her wheelchair, Emma with her apron, and Isabella standing beside them. Underneath, in Lily's handwriting, it said, "We're all strong in our own way." Isabella smiled through tears. She turned off the light, walked to her room, and lay awake, feeling something she hadn't felt in a very long time: hope. Over the next few weeks, Isabella noticed a change not just in her daughter, but in herself. Every time she thought about Emma, her mind returned to the diner, to the soft way the waitress had spoken to Lily, and the way her daughter's face had lit up. Isabella realized that something as simple as kindness, attention, understanding, could create more change than any money or luxury she could provide. She began to look at her life differently, and slowly, she started to make small changes in her routine. Instead of rushing through life, she began spending more quality time with Lily. They would take walks in the park, just the two of them, where Lily would tell stories about her favorite cartoons or the things she wanted to learn. Isabella listened, without interrupting or trying to fix things. She didn't check her phone every few minutes or think about work. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to be present. One day, she suggested they go to the diner again, and Lily's face lit up immediately. As they walked in, Emma ran over to greet them. "You came back," she said, hugging Lily gently. Isabella smiled, but she also noticed something she hadn't before. Emma looked tired. Her hair was tied back in a messy bun, and there were faint dark circles under her eyes. Yet her smile was bright and full of energy. Isabella felt a pang of guilt, realizing she had never stopped to think about the life Emma might be living outside the diner. They sat at their usual corner table, and Isabella watched Emma and Lily interact. Emma taught Lily to fold napkins into little shapes: hearts, stars, even a small dog. Lily giggled with excitement every time she got it right, and Isabella realized she hadn't seen her daughter laugh this freely in months. Emma wasn't just being kind. She was empowering Lily, teaching her confidence and joy. During lunch, Isabella started talking to Emma more personally. She asked about her life, about her family, and about her son. Emma shared that she had been raising Noah alone for several years. He had a medical condition that required constant attention, and the cost of his care had made life extremely difficult. Emma worked 2 jobs, one at the diner and another at a local shop, just to keep things running. Despite her challenges, she never complained. She spoke with determination and love, showing Isabella a resilience that she had never experienced before. Hearing Emma speak about her struggles and her commitment to her son, Isabella began to feel a deep respect for her. Here was a woman with almost nothing, yet her heart was overflowing with generosity and courage. It was so different from Isabella's own world, where money could solve almost any problem, yet so many people around her lacked real kindness. Isabella began to realize that wealth didn't measure true strength, and for the first time, she felt a desire to learn from someone else's heart rather than teach or control. After lunch, Emma helped Lily practice walking a few steps with her walker, gently guiding her and encouraging every movement. Isabella stayed nearby, watching quietly, and for the first time, she allowed herself to just observe and appreciate her daughter's determination without offering correction or instruction. Lily's laughter filled the room, and Isabella felt a lightness she hadn't felt in years. Later, as they were leaving, Isabella decided to walk Emma to her car. On the way, she noticed a small, worn-out vehicle parked in the lot. A car that clearly had been through many years of use. Emma struggled to start it, and Isabella instinctively stepped forward to help. "Do you want me to check it?" she asked. Emma looked embarrassed, shaking her head slightly. "I'll manage," she said softly, but Isabella insisted. And together, they got it running. That small moment stayed with Isabella. She realized that the woman who had whispered hope to her daughter every week had been living in quiet hardship. She hadn't complained, asked for help, or expected anything in return. Yet she gave freely, pouring love and encouragement into the life of another child. Isabella felt both admiration and humility. She realized that Emma's courage was extraordinary, and in comparison, her own life had been sheltered and self-focused. Despite the wealth and power surrounding her that evening, Isabella returned home, and Lily ran into her arms, chattering excitedly about everything Emma had taught her. Isabella hugged her daughter tightly, feeling an emotion she hadn't felt in a long time: gratitude. She was grateful for Emma, for Lily's joy, and for the way life had nudged her to recognize something she had missed for years. Over the next few days, Isabella continued her routine, but began looking for ways to help Emma quietly. She started researching local resources for single parents, medical assistance programs, and community support. She realized that even her influence could create a small difference in someone's life, if she chose to use it with care and discretion. She didn't want to intervene publicly or make it about her image. She simply wanted to help because it was the right thing to do. Meanwhile, Lily continued to grow in confidence. She started trying new things: painting, singing, and even attempting short exercises recommended by her therapists. Every time she succeeded, she would look at Isabella and say, "Mom, Emma says I'm strong. I'm learning my own kind of strong." Isabella smiled, realizing that these moments were transforming her daughter's spirit in ways therapy and money never could. One afternoon, Isabella found herself sitting across from Emma at the diner, talking quietly. "You really are incredible," Isabella said softly. "I don't know how you manage everything with such grace." Emma smiled shyly. "I don't always manage," she admitted. "Some days are hard. Some nights I worry I'm not doing enough for Noah, but I try. I just try to be present, to give him love, and to remind him that he's brave. That's all any of us can do." Isabella felt a lump in her throat. She had never heard words like these spoken with such honesty and humility. She realized that Emma's life was filled with challenges, but she had a strength that Isabella had never developed in her own world of wealth and control. That strength was quiet, patient, and resilient. It came from love rather than power. From that day on, Isabella decided to change her own approach to life. She began spending more time with Lily, listening more and instructing less. She started noticing the little things that made her daughter happy: the way Lily's eyes lit up when she painted, the laughter that bubbled out when she succeeded at something new, and the quiet pride she felt when her achievements were recognized without judgment. Isabella also realized that she wanted to help Emma in some way, not because she needed recognition, but because she admired the woman's courage and heart. One evening, after a long day, Isabella sat in her living room, reflecting on the weeks that had passed. She thought about Lily's laughter, Emma's kindness, and the small but profound lessons she had learned. She realized that life wasn't about wealth, control, or perfection. It was about connection, love, and the small acts of courage and generosity that could change someone's life completely. The next day, she called Lily's therapist to discuss ways to encourage her daughter's independence. She asked for activities that focused on self-confidence, problem-solving, and joy rather than just physical ability. She wanted Lily to feel strong in every way, to embrace her uniqueness, and to grow with pride. For Isabella, this was more than just parenting. It was a personal awakening, a realization that strength and love came from places far different than she had imagined. As weeks turned into months, Isabella, Lily, and Emma continued to meet at the diner. Lily's confidence soared, and Isabella found herself inspired by both her daughter's determination and Emma's unwavering kindness. Isabella realized that the world wasn't just about power or wealth. It was about moments, whispers of encouragement, and the courage to see the good in people. For the first time in years, Isabella felt truly alive. She understood that helping someone quietly, listening to someone deeply, and encouraging someone gently could be more transformative than any boardroom decision or business deal. She also understood that her daughter's strength and joy were linked to these small moments. Moments filled with love, trust, and attention. Isabella knew her life had changed forever. The connection between Lily and Emma had opened her heart, teaching her lessons about courage, kindness, and the true meaning of strength. She now wanted to continue this path, not for appearances, not for accolades, but because she had discovered a world richer than any wealth she had ever known. A world where love, hope, and small acts of kindness could change everything. From that point on, Bella decided she would not let wealth define her life anymore. She would let her heart guide her, just as Emma's heart had guided Lily, showing her the true meaning of strength and love. Isabella sat alone in her office late at night, the city lights glowing through the tall glass windows. Her phone buzzed with messages and business updates, but she didn't even look at them. Her thoughts kept returning to Emma and her daughter, Lily. She couldn't forget the moment she saw Emma's old car struggling to start, or the quiet smile Emma gave even while hiding her tired eyes. For days, Isabella couldn't sleep peacefully. She realized that while she lived in a mansion filled with luxury, a woman who had given her daughter hope was sleeping in her car. That thought broke something deep inside her. The next morning, Isabella made a decision without telling anyone. She used her foundation's charity branch to arrange medical support for Emma's son, who had a serious condition. She also quietly found Emma a small but comfortable apartment close to her work. She told her assistant to handle everything anonymously. Isabella didn't want Emma to feel pity or pride. She wanted to give back, just like Emma had given her daughter courage. When everything was arranged, Isabella felt lighter, as if she had finally done something meaningful. Days passed, and Emma's life slowly began to change. Her son received the care he needed, and she moved into the new apartment, believing it was part of a random charity program. She worked at the diner with the same warm smile, never suspecting Isabella's hand behind it. When Isabella and Lily visited again, Lily ran to Emma with pure excitement. The three of them laughed together, the way close friends do. Isabella saw how her daughter had opened up, talking more, laughing more, even trying to walk small steps on her braces. It was like a little light had returned to their home, one that no amount of wealth could ever buy. One afternoon, while cleaning tables, Emma overheard another waitress talking about how Isabella Hartman had funded a new community project for single mothers and children with disabilities. The waitress mentioned how it was handled quietly through Isabella's charity foundation. Emma froze. The details matched exactly what had happened to her: the apartment, the medical help, everything. Tears filled her eyes as realization hit her. She knew it was Isabella who had done it all in secret. Emma's hands trembled as she finished her shift, unsure whether to feel grateful, angry, or overwhelmed. That evening, Emma went straight to Isabella's office. The receptionist tried to stop her, but Isabella told her to let her in. When Emma walked in, she was holding back tears. Isabella looked up, surprised but calm. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Emma said softly, "You helped me, didn't you? You did all this for me and my son." Isabella didn't deny it. She simply nodded and said she just wanted to give back a little of the kindness Emma had given to her daughter. Emma's eyes filled with emotion. She said she wasn't angry, but she wanted Isabella to know something important. "I didn't need saving," she said gently. "I just needed someone to believe in me the way I believed in Lily." Those words hit Isabella deeply. She stood up and reached out for Emma's hand. There were tears in both their eyes. "You're right," Isabella whispered. "You believed in my daughter when even I couldn't. You showed me what real strength looks like." They hugged tightly. Two women from completely different worlds, now bound by something far greater than wealth or charity, by understanding and respect. Months passed, and life changed for all of them. Isabella took the biggest step of her life. She transformed one of her luxury housing projects into an accessible community for families with children who had special needs. She wanted to create a place where every child, no matter their ability or background, could live with dignity and joy. Emma became the community coordinator, using her warmth and strength to help other families the way she once helped Isabella and Lily. Together, they built something beautiful, something real. Lily's progress amazed everyone. She could now walk short distances with the help of braces and a little courage. She laughed more freely, loved going to the community center, and spent hours helping Emma fold napkins into heart shapes for the cafe there. Every time she fell, she would giggle and get back up, repeating the words Emma once whispered to her, "You're stronger than you think." Those words had become her little mantra, the light guiding her every day. One sunny afternoon, Isabella watched from a distance as Lily walked across the garden, holding Emma's hand. The two laughed, their faces glowing in the sunlight. Isabella felt a warmth in her heart she hadn't felt in years. She realized that her journey wasn't about money, success, or image. It was about learning to open her heart, to see people not through status or wealth, but through kindness and courage. Emma had reminded her what it meant to truly live, and Lily had shown her what it meant to truly love. As they all sat together later that day, Isabella, Lily, Emma, and Emma's little boy, they shared a simple meal. No fancy plates, no designer clothes, just laughter and connection. Lily leaned her head on her mother's shoulder and whispered, "Mom, I'm strong, right?" Isabella smiled and nodded with tears in her eyes. "Yes, sweetheart," she said softly. "Stronger than you think." At that moment, Isabella realized that the richest people in the world weren't the ones with mansions or expensive cars. They were the ones who could love without limits, who could give without expecting anything back. Emma, the waitress who once whispered hope to her daughter, had given her the greatest gift of all, a heart that understood the true meaning of strength. That night, Isabella walked into her mansion, but it no longer felt like a lonely palace. It felt warm, alive, filled with love. She placed a drawing on her wall, the one Lily had made months ago, of Emma holding her hand with the words, "You're stronger than you think." She smiled, knowing that those words didn't just belong to Lily anymore, they belonged to all of them.